Alright, it's officially Sunday. Happy game day, everybody. In case you can't tell, right now as I'm filming this, it's Sunday, October 29th. Hope y'all can see that right there. I'm a couple days late to doing this. I guess that's what happens when you have your Halloween special on your main channel, and then you have all these football videos on this channel, and then you got a bunch of other content coming out. I've been really behind on my YouTube channel, but I am going to try to get these two videos out. Today, we are going to predict Week 8 of 18. Here we have 10 games left in the regular season, 9 if you haven't had your bye week. But, I mean, we're predicting all these games, and there's a couple great games here. It's going to be really fun. This is going to be a really fun week. And so, with that said, we're going to go and get started. Real quick, I do want to talk about fantasy football real quick. Let me pull this up. Let me show you guys. You see these standings right here? See those standings? You see how I'm in third place? I'm playing the first place team this week. And I'm already doing better than him. I already got 30 points from Joshua Allen. And then this guy who needs to beat this other guy also is doing really good. And so if we both win, we'll all be tied for first place, which is the first time that's happened in my 3 years of fantasy football experience. Real quick, thought I really would share that with you guys. With that said, we're going to go and get started. Comment down below what is your predictions for this week as well. And we're going to get started with the Jets and the Giants, the two New York teams playing this week. And for me, the Jets haven't looked great all year. They've really gotten lucky with some of their past ones. They're 3-3. They've actually looked really good against teams like the Chiefs and teams like the Eagles. But I think mainly that's because Zach Wilson still got the spirit of Donnie Kelsey in the building. That's just a joke. Not really. But anyways, the Jets have been playing alright football. They're 3-3. They're not the best, but they're coming off beating the Broncos and the Eagles, which is a pretty good thing you want to say, except the Broncos aren't nothing. But beating the Eagles is pretty impressive. Meanwhile, the New York Giants are getting a little bit better. Last week, they almost beat the Buffalo Bills. Then they beat the Washington Commanders or the Washington Redskins or whatever the heck you want me to call them. And so the Giants are looking to pick up their season too. These are both bad teams, I think, that are all of a sudden starting to play solid enough football and maybe, I don't think they'll squeeze in a playoff, but maybe come close. So this is going to be a pretty good game. For me, though, I'm going to have to go with the New York Jets. I think that the Jets have been playing better football. Zach Wilson hasn't looked horrible all year. He's actually thrown to some of his wide receivers. And so it's been a pretty decent enough year for Zach Wilson being 3-3. And even though they're playing the Giants, who started to pick up, the Giants still have a terrible offensive line. They get sacked all the time. Jets have a pretty great defense. They're still playing Tyrod Taylor. I just don't have a feeling that the Giants are going to even cut this one close. The Jags and the Steelers. How do the Steelers? How are they 4-2? How are the Steelers 4-2? Jacksonville Jaguars are 5-2 because they didn't have their bye week. But Jacksonville is looking great this year. They got Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, who's one of the best running backs in the game right now. They got Christian Kirk. They got, what's his name? Calvin Ridley. A whole bunch of great players on the Jaguars. And they're playing a great year, and they got a good defense. I think that they're going to be a team to beat this year. I think they're going to be a good team. But how are the Pittsburgh Steelers 4-2? They only have one good quarter a game. I don't get that. Kenny Pickett is not good. He throws so many picks a game. The team's just not great. But yet they still manage to squeak in wins. So do I think that they'll squeak in a win against Jacksonville? Is anybody looking? Yeah, I do. Alright, I'm sorry, Jacksonville fans. I know some Jacksonville fans that are mad at me over this pick. But I think Pittsburgh could squeeze in a win over Jacksonville. Pittsburgh's won a lot of games that they should have lost this year so far. So why not make it another one? Why not do my upset of the week? Steelers beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who knows? Even going to overtime. This is going to be a good game. The Eagles and Commanders rematch. This was a great game last week, and I'm hoping for another good game from A.J. Brown this week because I have him on my fantasy team. But A.J. Brown had a massive game last time they played the Commanders, but they both were real close neck and neck, and it was tight, and then they broke it in overtime. But wow, what a game. The Eagles didn't play good football, I don't think, until the second half. The Washington Commanders played great football the whole game. And so, for a tough division rival, I think that both teams played great. Eagles just barely squeaked on top. But recently, the Commanders have lost to the Giants. Didn't they lose to the Falcons, I think? They lost to the Falcons. But anyways, the Commanders have just, had a rough year so far, and I don't think that they're going to turn around against the Eagles. The Eagles looked absolutely spectacular last week. The Eagles and the refs, of course, because the refs, that game was horrible, but they looked absolutely spectacular last week against the Miami Dolphins, who is a team to beat this year as well. And so they're playing the Commanders, who've just been having a rough luck, and I think that they're not going to make a rematch of that last game. I think that they're really going to come through here and maybe, just blow it off. Just get 45 to 50 points and absolutely just kill the Commanders, because the Eagles are real mad after losing to the Jets, and they're going to come in here and they're not losing another game. I don't think that they'll lose another game. The LA Rams and the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys suck. The Cowboys flat out just freaking suck. They're 4-2. It's because they played bad teams. They've played horrible teams. And the Rams are a decent team that I think are getting screwed over every single week. I think that the Rams should be winning these games. But last week, the reffing against that game was absolutely horrible. They should be doing a lot better than they actually are. But I do think that there's just this unfortunate thing that's blocking them. And every single week, I go for the LA Rams to win, and they never win. But let's take a look at the Cowboys. Actually, I was pulling this up while I was talking. The only ones they have against the Jets, the Giants, they lost against the Cardinals, and the Patriots. And they beat the Chargers. Tell me if a single one of those is a good team. They're not. And I would consider the Rams a good team just with bad luck. And I do think that the Rams have potential to win this game. But their bad luck is, this makes it a really hard game to choose because it's the Dallas Cowboys, who's not a good team. Dak Prescott is not good. But the LA Rams is a team that should be this great powerhouse of a team, and yet they're 3-4. They get screwed over every week, and it just kind of sucks. And so this is one of the games that's hard to pick. I think I'd have to go Cowboys as my safe pick. I think I would much rather prefer to pick the LA Rams. I do want the LA Rams to win, but I feel like that would be a bit of bias in there. So I'd have to go with the Dallas Cowboys over the LA Rams on this game. So the Vikings, my second favorite team, my first favorite NFC team, coming off a 2-win streak, play the Packers, who are a terrible team. One of the only two teams to lose to the Denver Broncos this year. That just tells you what kind of team that the Green Bay Packers are. And it's absolutely freaking hilarious. So the Minnesota Vikings, they're not bad, actually. They started off the year real rough, couldn't hold on to the football, but after a quick win against the Bears, and then now they got a big win last week against the Niners, I feel like they're going to be unstoppable. And playing the Packers, who lost last week to the freaking Denver Broncos, then they lost to the Las Vegas Raiders, then they lost to so many other teams, and they're not playing good football, maybe one quarter a game. One quarter a game, they're playing decent enough football, but they're really not playing good football at all. They're losing all these games that they should be winning. So what's one more? The Vikings are going to take this one into their hands, and they're going to annihilate the Packers. The Packers with Jordan Love had a promising start to the season, but it's not going well right now. It's going downhill, and it's going downhill fast. And I think that Minnesota is just going to take this one and absolutely crush them. Go Minnesota. Can't wait for that game. Atlanta versus Tennessee, and I always have a bit of bias against the Tennessee games because I despise Tennessee Titans. The Falcons with Desmond Ridder, they are a rough football team, but they keep getting wins. Desmond Ridder is not a great quarterback, but he's young, He's getting in there. And they're 4-3, which is not a terrible record that you want to have. It's a pretty solid record, actually. And they're playing a 2-4 Tennessee Titans, who really are playing all these, not great teams, and they're losing. They won 2 of them, of course. Really not winning any of these games. And so now they're playing the Falcons, who are a team with Desmond Ridder, who, like I said, not a great quarterback, but he's good enough. They have a great running back core, Bijan Robinson, Cordero Patterson. They got a pretty good wide receiver core, Kyle Pitts at tight end. They're not a terrible team. They're a team that, like I said before in previous videos, I always find them exciting to watch. And what's the difference? Now they're playing the Tennessee Titans. I'm still going to find them pretty exciting to watch this game. I do think that the Atlanta Falcons are going to take this one and not only beat, but absolutely destroy the Tennessee Titans. New England Patriots and the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins make me so sad, man. They just make me so sad because this is a team that should be winning every single game this year, and yet they've lost against every good team they played. They are beating up on the bad teams. They're going to beat up on the New England Patriots, but they beat up on all the bad teams, and then they go play the Philadelphia Eagles and play like that. Jokes aside, the refs were on the Eagles' side, but they still played like crap. And then the other game that they actually played a good team, the Buffalo Bills, they lost that game. And so it's really rough because they can beat all these bad teams. They can beat on all these bad teams. They're going to get a playoff spot because they can beat on all these bad teams, but they really cannot just beat a good team, I don't think. And now they're playing the New England Patriots, who barely squeaked a win last week. They're 2-5, one of the worst teams in the league. Mac Jones is horrible. Their defense is solid enough. They got a pretty good passing defense, but their offense is just absolutely abysmal. But I don't care. They have a great defense. They have a great defense in wide receivers ones. Bill Belichick is the best coach for wide receiver ones. But I just know that Miami is going to walk all over them with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, who I both got on my fantasy team this week. It's going to be a great game this week. And the Dolphins are going to take this one and run away with it, while the New England Patriots are going to just be 2-6. I genuinely hope that the Patriots don't win another game. I find this absolutely hilarious at how bad they suck. The Saints and the Colts, the New Orleans Saints and the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts with Gardner Minshew are just getting screwed over. They got screwed over by the refs last week. Meanwhile, the New Orleans Saints, they're a team that proceeds to get wins occasionally. They did lose 4 in a row. They started 2-0, then they lost 4 in a row, and then they got a win last week. But then now they're playing the Indianapolis Colts, who I think that the refs just continue to screw them over. They won that game last week, but the refs made a horrible call that really screwed them over. Gardner Minshew is playing really good, actually, for a backup quarterback. People are saying he's not going to be good for a real quarterback. He is being good for a starter quarterback. And now playing the Saints, who they've got a pretty great defense, I think, but they're really not nothing against the Colts. The Colts have a great offense. They got pretty good wide receivers. They've also got Gardner Minshew, who's a solid enough quarterback. He rushes for heck of a large last week. Then they also got Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss, both who are on my fantasy team. I'm playing Taylor. I'm taking the safe route. But I feel like the Saints offense is going to crash under this Colts defense, and I just feel like the Saints, as much as I want them to win because I like Derek Carr and I hate seeing Derek Carr in pain, but I just don't feel like the Saints are going to beat the Colts this week. All right, our final noon game, the Houston Texans and the Carolina Panthers. Both great quarterbacks who came out of the draft. Bryce Young is a whopping 0-6. The Houston Texans are a whopping 3-3. Houston started off really weak, and I was saying to myself, he's not going to be the guy. He's not going to be the guy to fix the Texans. And all of a sudden, he was that guy. He was that guy to fix the Texans. And he still is that guy. He threw 1 pick all year. That is like the best out of a rookie quarterback of like almost all time, I think. And now they're playing the Panthers, who Bryce Young is just not that guy. He's my new CJ Stroud, guys. He's just not that guy. He's really just not that guy. He does not look like he wants to be there. When I watch a Panthers game, he's just like, here, what's something I can use as a ball? Let's use Mr. Ghostface right here, shall we? I'm sorry for all that news. Let's use Mr. Ghostface right here. He's like, hike, and then he got the ball, then he's just standing there. Normally quarterbacks are just like ready to throw. He's just standing there. Who can I find, guys? And then he's just like, here you go. I almost just put a hole in my wall. Whoops. Anyways, that's just what he looks like to me. And he's very lazy out there, and I just don't feel like he's a great NFL quarterback. Meanwhile, the Houston Texans, they're fighting for every single one of these wins. They lost 3 games, but they are fighting, guys. And the Panthers are 0-6. They just don't look like they're trying. Adam Thielen is great, but that's pretty much it on the Panthers. I feel like the Texans are going to take this game and take it away and get the win here. The Browns, who have a surprisingly great defense, versus the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks, they're really good this year. They're 5-2, 4-2 because they had their bye week. They're really great. They only lost against 2 good teams, the Rams and the Bengals. But now they're playing the Browns, who has a great defense. And P.J. Walker's undefeated, and they beat the 49ers. It's going to be a real tough game for Seattle this week, I really do think. And PJ Walker is not really great. Jerome Ford is really good as a running back, but their defense is really what holds them here. And so if they could shut out the 49ers, I almost said something else. If they could shut out the 49ers, they could probably shut out the Seattle Seahawks. And even though Seattle's having a great year so far, Geno Smith is having a great year. They got DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. They also have a good defense. It's really going to be a battle of the defenses. This one is going to be a really hard one to choose because the Browns are a good football team, but it's going to be a really difficult one to choose. I think overall, I'd have to go Seattle. I was going to go Browns, but the more I think about it, I'm just like, Seattle is a great offense, and they also got a great defense. Meanwhile, the Browns have a struggling offense. It's really going to come down to these offenses, and even though the Browns have a great defense, Seattle's offense is just going to get them the ball moving, more like P.J. Walker is probably going to throw like 4 picks this game against a pretty great Seattle Seahawks defense. And so that's the main benefactor of this game, but it's going to be a close one. Cincinnati Bengals and San Fran 49ers. 49ers. You just lost against the Vikings and the Browns. Oh, God, it makes me feel so good to say that. I'm not a Niners fan. I like Brock Purdy. I really do. But the whole thing was like, Brock Purdy's better than Patrick Mahomes. And then Patrick Mahomes didn't lose to the Browns or the 49ers. Or wait, no, he is the 49ers. He didn't lose to the Browns or the Vikings. I'm sorry. What am I talking about? He beat the Vikings. Patrick Mahomes beat the Vikings. That's something Brock Purdy could say he's never done. So Patrick Mahomes, why don't you go suck on that, Brock Purdy? Because Patrick Mahomes is great. All jokes aside, the 49ers are a great team. They've just had a bit of a rough spot these last couple of days. Now they're playing the Cincinnati Bengals, who have had a really rough season. What are they? They're 3-3. But the Cincinnati Bengals are starting to look like a great football team. They went from terrible to all of a sudden they're starting to look like Cincinnati Bengals in the midseason, like they normally always do. And they're playing this tough Niners team, but why not? Let's give it to the Bengals. I'm going Bengals to win this one. Bengals have looked good these last couple of games. Meanwhile, the San Francisco 49ers have a lot of troubles, and so I fully believe that the Niners could lose 3 in a row because they're playing the Cincinnati Bengals. Not like their matchups were tough or anything. They lost against the Browns. They lost against the Vikings. Something Patrick Mahomes does not do. And so now they're playing the Bengals, who's an actual good football team, and I feel like the Bengals are going to take this one away. So Purdy, why don't you suck on them apples, okay? My KC Chiefs and the Denver Broncos, second matchup that they're going to play this year, and it's going to be a wild one because everybody's like, Broncos, you won your last game. You could beat the Chiefs for the first time in so many years. And I'm just like, dude, they're playing Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is the only quarterback in the NFL right now to win 6 in a row. And I don't want to hear none of that. The refs are always on their side bullcrap, because that's not true, okay? So if I get one comment about that, you're blocked from my channel immediately. There's your warning. And I'm just kidding, but not really. Anyways, they're playing the Broncos, who they barely won. I mean, they won, but Brandon Parra had to make a whole nother worst game ever. So it still wasn't a good football game. It really wasn't. The Broncos are just like, hey, we actually won a game. And so good for you. Now you're playing an actual good football team in the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, who is proving over and over. He finally had a good week. He had some rough spots, but they lost 6 in... Not lost. They won 6 in a row. And so that is impressive. Mahomes is doing great this year. The Pacheco's doing great this year. Even though they don't have Justin Ross, they got McCole Hardman back. And the defense is doing great this year. There's no way that the Broncos are going to beat my Chiefs. And so the Broncos are going to proceed to still be one of the worst teams in the league. Baltimore Ravens and the Arizona Cardinals. Poor Cardinals, man. I wanted to see the Cardinals do great. My family's from Arizona, so I do like the Arizona Cardinals. But now they're playing a 5-2 Baltimore Ravens team. The Baltimore Ravens lost against the Steelers. They lost against another team that I can't remember. But in the last week, they also played a Detroit Lions team, who is supposedly one of the top 3 NFL teams. And they didn't only beat the Detroit Lions, but they slaughtered the Detroit Lions. It was a slaughter out there. And the Ravens are looking like a great football team. Meanwhile, the Arizona Cardinals beat the Cowboys. Do I feel like they can pull another upset? No. I mean, they have not looked all that great all year. They're looking like the Cardinals. Joshua Dobbs is trying the best he can, but Joshua Dobbs is a young quarterback, so he's not as great as a lot of other quarterbacks are in the NFL. He's not as great as Lamar Jackson. Plus, you're playing a great Baltimore Ravens defense. You're playing a great Baltimore Ravens offense. The Ravens are at the top right now. They're one of the best teams. So I feel like they're going to run away with this one and get the win versus Arizona. Poor Arizona, though. The Chicago Bears, who got their second win last week against the Raiders, facing the Los Angeles Chargers. Sorry, I was born when they were in San Diego, okay? I know them as San Diego Chargers. Anyways, the Chicago Bears playing the Chargers. Chargers are a team that I feel so bad for. They are a great football team, yet they're 2-4 because they just have this rough schedule that they're losing and losing and losing. And if they played a bad team, they could win. Now they're playing a bad team in the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears, they won against the Commanders. Then they had a terrible football week. And then they won against the, who'd they play last week? The Las Vegas Raiders. And they had another great week without Justin Fields. That proves that Justin Fields is the part of the problem. And now Tyson Bagent, DJ Moore, this offense is going to be a real close one because I feel like the Chargers have potential to win this one. And I feel like if I chose the Bears, it'd just be sympathy because I do want the Bears to win this one. I'd go Chargers to win this one. Chargers have had a rough spot, but they're a good football team, I do think. And I do think that they could get their third win this week against the Chicago Bears because the Chicago Bears, as much as I want Tyson Bagent to just win and be a better quarterback than Justin Fields, I genuinely don't think that the Chargers are going to lose this one against the Bears, especially with how good of a football team they are and how misfortunate their luck is this year. Las Vegas Raiders and the Detroit Lions is our Monday Night Football game and our final game of the week. Detroit's coming back. They got killed, murdered, put in the ground, dead against the Baltimore Ravens. And now they're playing the Vegas Raiders, who are playing some quarterback who hasn't won a game in so long. And they lost against the Bears, so that's another benefiting thing. But now they're 5-2, and I genuinely don't think that they're going to lose another game. They're not going to lose another game. That's the thing. The Lions are going to be an undefeated team for the rest of the year. I do think the Lions are this great football team, and now they're playing the Las Vegas Raiders, who just are not a great football team, and the Lions are going to come right back up after that defeat last week, and they're going to be like, you know what? We got a great offense. Bam, 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 and they're going to absolutely annihilate this game. Meanwhile, the Vegas Raiders just are looking rough. They're not looking like a good football team. They're never a good football team, and poor Davante Adams wants out. That was my predictions for Week 8 of the NFL. I'm sorry that they're a bit late. I haven't even uploaded 7 yet. It'll be uploaded before this because I'm going to go on a editing binge, and so I'll do that the next couple of days. And so I'm very sorry about this long wait. Tell me down below, what is your predictions for Week 8 of the NFL? How many did I get right? Because I'm pretty sure as football is less than 2 hours away, it's 10:05, less than 2 hours away from kickoff. I'm pretty sure I got a lot of those right. So, thank you guys for clicking on this video. And with that said, subscribe, join the Nerd Army.